Hello everyone, this is A&W from the Terasology art team, and in this tutorial I'm just going to be going through the simple process of getting set up to eventually create block shapes for the awesome open source game Terasology. We're basically just going to need to download three things, and I'm going to do this from the very beginning, going through getting Terasology and everything. So if you already have Terasology and stuff, you can feel free to skip ahead and not bother watching this beginning. Otherwise, I'm starting at the very beginning so that anyone new to the process can just follow along. So, to get started, the first thing we're going to need is to actually download Terasology itself. So, you can just go to blog.movingblocks.net, Blockmania. You can easily search Terasology. Should be one of the top results. It's pretty easy to find. And if you don't know anything about it, it's a really cool open source game project. I'm sure you can sort of recognize the style it's taking and such. But if you haven't ever checked it out, I'd encourage you to at least come here, check it out. Visit the forum, definitely. That's a great place to learn about it. And yeah, it's really great open source project. Otherwise, we're coming here to actually get the official release. So we're going to go to latest builds, and this is where they keep sort of different like test builds and all of that. We're going to go to Terasology stable here, which, as the name suggests, is where they keep the sort of once in a while stable releases that hopefully are nice and playable. You can just get the most recent version. Shouldn't matter for this tutorial. So terasology.zip right there. You can click that and download it, and then unzip it. I have already done that. So there is. I'm not gonna do that again. But once you do that, the next thing we're going to need is to download the source code repository for Terasology. So you can just come back to its main page here, and right under that latest builds link we clicked, we can click the Terasology repository at GitHub, which is its source code control for the project. We don't really need all of the source code and stuff. Really, all we need is what is in this Blender add-ons folder right here. As you'll see, it has one subfolder, io_mesh_terasology. This is a Blender add-on that which Blender is I'll get to in a moment, another really great open source project, and it's a general 3D editing application, and this add-on allows us to easily make Terasology block shapes using Blender's powerful 3D interface, and then export them and then use them right within Terasology. So it's really nice that one of the awesome developers of Terasology, Mortius, wrote this for everyone. So we're going to just download everything because, yeah, there are other useful things in the source code that will be needed later. So just hit the zip button here and download the entire repository. After you have that, just unzip it and put it wherever you want. I've already done that. So, yep, there we go. Moving on to the third and last thing we have to download, which is Blender itself, as already mentioned. If you don't really know anything about this, again, it's another really nice open source project that is making a general 3D editing application, already very powerful and usable for an incredible variety of stuff. So check that out too if you it's a really great open source project. Otherwise, we're just going to go straight to download it, which you can hit as you can see, it's also in the top bar there. You can click that. that takes us here where we can download the official release, which is, at the time of recording, 2.65a. This is actually too new for the block shape add-on that Immortius wrote for Terasology. Blender releases official releases quite often, so yeah, don't be surprised if this is a fair bit higher than 2.65a when you watch this. It doesn't really matter. Blender just improves very quickly. But we're going to go to older versions, and then clicking this link takes us to a lot of different versions of Blender, all the way from way back to the most recent. The one Immortius wrote the block shape add-on for, and the one that we really need, is 2.60, as you can see there. 2.61 and 2.62 should also work. 2.63 and up, as of the recording of this tutorial, won't work because of a big change in Blender that project did. So I'm just going to get 2.60. That's the one that I got for this tutorial. You can just go there, get the release and format that you want for your OS. I prefer zip files because they don't need any installation, and so just download that. I downloaded the zip as said, upped it, and was good to go. So that's basically it. 3 things. It's safe to say that a lot of people can probably skip downloading the Terasology. I'm sure a lot of people already have that. Otherwise, it's just downloading Terasology, its source code, and Blender 2.60. Once that is done, we're basically ready to create block shapes. But there's one other thing that we're going to do, and that's just install the block shape add-on from the source code of Terasology into Blender so that we can use it in the future. We're just going to open up this. Again, here's the Blender add-ons. So click that, and we are going to copy this whole folder here. So click that, copy that, and we can close this. And then we're going to open up Blender's folder. You'll see in most Blender releases there'll just be a single folder that is named according to the version number. So we're just going to go into that, and inside of that you'll want to go into scripts, and then you'll see this add-ons. Go into there, and this has a bunch of different scripts, Python scripts, and add-on folders and such. We're just going to paste that whole block shape folder that we copied from the Terasology source code folder right into here. And as you can see, there it is, IO Mesh Terasology. We're pretty much finished with the complicated part, if you can even call that complicated. But the last thing we're going to do is just go into Blender. So open up Blender and just enable the add-on. When you install an add-on into Blender like that, it's not automatically enabled. You have to actually do it. So we're going to go to File, and down here you'll see User Preferences. We're going to go into the User Preferences, and that presents us with some sort of complicated looking settings and several tabs here. But we can safely ignore most of those and just go straight to the Add-ons tab here in the middle. This gives us all of the add-ons. There's a lot of them, so we're just going to search for Terasology. Oops. There we go. Import, export, Terasology block shape export. So as you can see, this little checkbox is not enabled, so we won't be able to use it currently. But just click that. It should turn right on and be usable from within Blender. There we go. exit out of that user preferences window, and now we're going to save the user preferences. Even though you enabled that, it will only be enabled for the current session, meaning if you close this Blender window and then reopen Blender, it won't be enabled again, which is really annoying. So to just make sure you don't have to ever do that again, really, I mean you will probably eventually, but to just make sure you don't have to do it every time you open Blender, you can save user settings right now, and that will save everything as the default startup. That's basically it. Download Terasology, download the source code, download Blender, and then just drop in that Terasology block shape add-on from the source code you downloaded right into Blender's add-ons folder, and then go into Blender and just enable it. Last thing you can do to just make sure it actually is enabled is to double check the 3D view settings. So right here in the default view of Blender, you can just hit this little plus sign in the corner or the button in, and that'll open this sidebar here that will be filled with these two little panes down here at the bottom: Terasology Scene Properties and Terasology Mesh Properties. If those are there, everything worked fine, and you will be able to easily export a block shape for use in Terasology. I'm going to finish up this tutorial, and hopefully this was relatively easy and understandable. So we'll see you later for actually creating block shapes in Blender here. Thanks. Bye.